pair of ribbons and zippers. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing a review on a really cute top. This is a McCall's 7976, and I am going to be working on the version A, and I think it's so cute. I can't wait to get started, so stick with me. Okay everyone, like I said, I'm working on pattern number 7976 by McCall's, and it is this version A. Every envelope has instructions on the back of the type of fabric that you're going to need, the notions that you're going to need, and we will be working on size medium. Okay, so let's get started with the tools that we're going to need. Okay, so first off, we are going to need our scissors. We're going to need, this is a paper scissors, fabric markers. We're going to need a seam gauge for measuring, as well as cutting tools, your fabric scissors, a rotary cutter if you prefer. This is my instrument of choice. Nippers, of course, when nobody's perfect. Seam ripper. This is a really nice seam ripper because it opens and closes. I will put the description in the box below. Okay, definitely a ruler, and we are going to need some pattern weights, and we are going to need some pins, thread of your choice to match your fabric, buttons to match your fabric. These are 5/8 of an inch with the matching thread, and this pattern calls for lightweight fusible interfacing. This particular interfacing is woven. This is my choice. I love woven interfacing. Okay, now that we have everything that we're going to need, all of our instruments and tools, let's get started. Okay, so I have to do some prepping because once again I'm working with polka dot, and this fabric is a little delicate, but I've laid out all of my pattern pieces and we are ready to go. Okay guys, so step one. First thing to do is to fuse your interfacing to the wrong side of your back facing and your front facing. Let's do that. Finished interfacing my facings. I went ahead and put the interfacing on the front facing and as well as the back facing. Okay, this is the neck, the back neck facing, front facing. This is okay, so that was really simple. So now we're going to move on to the next step, which is working on the front and the back of the blouse. And this blouse calls for pleats, 2 dainty pleats on the front as well as the back. And I just love that in the blouse. It just makes them look so soft. So we're going to work on that now. Okay, so we need to match our dots on the front of our blouse, both sides, to create our pleats. And then for the back side, we're going to work the pleat outward, and we're going to have a pleat on the right side, left side and the right side. And what we need to do is go ahead and baste across the top. So let's start by about 1 inch from your pleat. Start basting, maybe about 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 of an inch from the edge of the fabric, and then just go ahead and baste just the top portion of your blouse. Okay, so now we're going to work on the yoke portion of the blouse, which is a very interesting part of the blouse. It looks almost like a hanger, right? The way it's shaped. And that is because what it does, it gives the rest of the blouse support. So anything under the yoke is going to be supported. And especially since we have gathers in the back of our shirt, it's going to frame that portion of the back, and the bottom part is going to hang beautifully and proportionately. Okay, so now we just press our seam up towards the yoke and finish it. And now we're ready for the next step. So the next step is to attach the sleeve. We're going to go ahead and match the dots. So here is a dot, here is the notches, and here is a dot, and we just need to match all the way across the dots, the notches, and once we're done doing that, then just pin the sleeve to the back. It is extremely important to press your garment while you are constructing it. Not only does it get rid of wrinkles, because of course we want to get rid of wrinkles, but what pressing does is it seals the thread, sort of like melds the thread into the fabric. So we want to always set our seams, give it a good press, meld that thread into that fabric so your garment will come out looking perfect. And so, okay, so we've attached our back neck facing with our front facing, and now we want to go ahead and finish this edge all the way around. So go ahead, whether you're zigzagging or serging, finish this edge all the way around. So I just created a pivot point. So that's a good idea if, especially if you're new to sewing, you're going to start sewing along the outer edge, the 5/8 of an inch. Stop here, pivot, and then continue on. Okay, everyone. Now that we have our facing attached, it's now time to do our understitching. And understitching is not top stitching, it is not edge stitching, it is understitching. And it's called that because it's found under the garment. It's used to keep your facing lying nice and flat and neat. So we're going to do an understitching. And I know that a lot of times we want to skip this part because we're not too familiar with it, but do not skip this part. I promise you, your garments will come out looking so much better if you don't. So do not skip this part. So if you're unable to do an understitching, go ahead and practice. But don't, how many times I say do not skip this part. It's crucial. Your garments will look so much better and you will be so much happier with it. So without delay, let's go ahead and work on our understitching and get that done. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is trim half of your seam allowance and then clip as close to the thread as possible along the neck edge. So by clipping, this is going to help when you turn the facing under and the facing will lie flat. Okay, so go ahead and tuck your seam allowance under your facing, not on your blouse, under your facing. And then you're going to go ahead and sew about 1/8 of an inch along your seam line, 1/8 of an inch, okay? Okay, if you're unable to see your seam, change your foot, change it to a zipper foot. I tried this years ago and it seems to really help. Okay guys, so once you have a nice understitch, now you can go ahead and press. You see how nice and neat that looks on the other side? So your understitch actually carries that seam or rolls it around and tucks it under for you, and you have a nice smooth outside. So now you can go ahead and press it. Okay, so now you just want to take your needle and you want to tack your facing to your seam. Just tack the facing to the seam. Make sure that you don't get any of the fabric on. Okay, so go ahead and match your notches, your front to your back, the front bodice, the front of the shirt to the back of the shirt. Match your notches and pin and attach your front to your back on both sides. So now that you've stitched the front and the back together at the underarm and the sides, it's a good idea to just go ahead and finish your seams if you can. And then we're going to go ahead and hem your sleeve. You can hem it at your desired length. Change the stitch length on my machine to 5, and I'm going to create a basting stitch all the way. I'm going to create a basting stitch all the way around close to the edge of the hem. And I did the catch stitch all the way around, and the way that's done is very simple. You just pick up one thread on the outside and you barely see, you don't see anything at all. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so in order to do a catch stitch, go from left to right. So we're going to, what I do is I start at a seam. I always try to find a seam as my starting point, and I anchor my thread. So just anchor your thread, and what you're going to do, what makes a catch stitch so great is that it's invisible on the other side. You can barely see anything. So how that's done is at the maybe about 1/4 of an inch under your hem, you pick up about 1/8 of an inch of the hem. You make your first stitch, then you pick up 1 or 2 pieces of thread depending on your fabric. So with this fabric it's pretty easy because it's a nice cotton. And then you go down and you pick up 1/8 of an inch under your hem. You always try not to pick up any of your fabric, and you just keep repeating the process all the way around. 1/8 of an inch on the hem and about 1 or 2 threads. If you pick up more than 1 or 2 threads, you will see it on the right side of your fabric, and that's the point. You don't want to see it. It's called a catch stitch, and it's a great stitch for hemming. So 1 or 2, let me try to get this needle in here, 1 or 2 pieces of thread, and then about 1/8 of an inch on the hem, and you keep repeating the process all the way around. Okay, nothing on the outside. It's beautiful. Okay, so now what we need to do is create a basting stitch, and we're going to start from the edge of our facing, the inside facing, and we're going to start, I'm going to start right about here. What you need to do is from the edge go all the way around, but you're going to start 4 inches from the bottom of your blouse, and you're going to end 4 inches from the bottom of your blouse. So start here. Okay, so now we need to turn our facing onto the right side of our blouse, and then we just need to stitch. So stitch here 1/4 of an inch up from the bottom of your blouse, and then what you're going to do is trim. Okay, so now it's time for our buttonholes. So with using the guide, place it on your blouse according to the edge of your blouse. It matches up perfectly, see? And you're going to put 3 buttonholes, okay? Or whatever you choose actually, but 3 is fine. So I want to be sure to match my buttonholes perfectly. So to do that, what I've done is I've pinned it here, and I'm just going to I'm going to pin it again in one more spot, and then I'm going to start at the top of the shirt and start with this hole and start putting the buttonholes in. And you just want to make sure that you're overlapping your your front edges, okay? So I personally think that it's a great idea to go in and out of the same hole on your buttonhole, and then that way you're going to have a nice neat stitch on the back. If you can see that, stitch, nice and neat. Okay, I think it's a great idea to Okay, so now we're going to use our tool here. It's a buttonhole cutter to create buttonholes in our blouse. It's about a 12mm size. You can get it from any Joann's or Amazon, and it's about the size of a, this is a 5/8 of an inch button. So you take your buttonhole cutter and you press down really firmly into the center of your buttonhole to create a slit. Okay, so we need to protect our surface because this tool is very sharp. So I have a piece of plywood that I use, and if you do buy this tool, it does come with it's sharp, so it comes with a little plywood that you can use to protect your surface when you're cutting your buttonhole. So your surface is very important, at least mine is, so we want to protect it. So you need to press down really hard. You see, you press hard, straight down, and you have your slit. Perfect. Okay, so I am all done. All of my buttons are attached. 1, 2, 3. And I have a cute little surprise right here in the middle, my little green button. Well, that's what my model wanted anyway, so I think it's cute. What you need to do is make sure that you can slip your buttons into the holes easily. Let me see. Yep, it goes in perfectly. And this cute little top by McCall's is done. I am so happy with it. It's so cute.